How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be reviewing this portable Type-C or HDMI monitor from KYY. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So what we have here is a Sega Genesis Mini, as well as a panel, all running through USB power using a power bank, hence the portable aspect of it. It doesn't have an internal battery, but again, it runs off 5 volts 2 amps, which is really nice. First of all, what comes in the box is the panel, of course. It comes with the cover/stand, a USB A to C cable for power, as well as this 5 volt 2 amp USB adapter. This manual, you also get this nice high quality C to C cable for both video and power inputs, alongside a full-size HDMI to HDMI mini cable. And finally, it comes with this included screen protector, with the cleaning and installation kit that comes along with it. Oh yeah, and here's what the box looks like that it comes with. This is a good time to actually go over the specs real quick. It's 15.6 inches, 1080p IPS with 300 nits, and finally it runs off 5 volts. With that out of the way, let's go in and take a look around this thing and see what kind of ports we have, what the build is like, and how it all works, before we go ahead and try out different games, different consoles, my phone, a Nintendo Switch, a laptop, and of course, as always, we'll test out the response time, which actually is pretty good for a portable monitor. And overall, this should be a pretty nice fun video, because I'm actually re-recording this entire video for the sake of higher quality and a more concise video. And with all that being said, let's go ahead and take a closer look. So here's what it looks like packed up inside the kickstand cover. It is protected both on the front as well as the back, and is held in together using magnets, which is nice. So when holding it like so, it's not going to slip out of the cover. And yes, you can completely detach it away from the cover itself, just like so. Alright, so as you can see, it was very easy to clean up, and I'm not worried about scratching it up because I'm pretty sure this is actually made out of glass and not plastic. It is just a very smooth surface, and it's very easy to wipe down, which is really nice. And no, if you're wondering, these edges are not going to catch on to any lint. And speaking of cleanup, if you're into debranding, you could probably actually remove the logo down here with some acetone or maybe some nail polish remover, but other than that, it doesn't bother me all that much. It's a nice brushed matte finish, and really not a whole lot to complain about. There's barely any flex, and build quality so far has been pretty nice. And yes, there's a removable sticker, so you can remove that as well. Over here we have some legends for the actual inputs and outputs. Starting on the left side, we have the audio out jack, we have the menu controls, status LED, and the power button, as well as a left side speaker. And moving on to the right side, we have yet another speaker, 2 USB Type-C ports, as well as the mini HDMI. And yes, the Type-C ports here are interchangeable, so you can actually display data and power through them. But not only that, they can also have USB Type-C pass-through power. And what that means is you can actually go ahead and power up the display using your laptop's power adapter, and then use the included Type-C cable to go back into your laptop, in the case that your laptop has only one Type-C port, and that same port is your charging port. So anyways, back to the actual kickstand, here's how you actually set it up. Is you basically open up the front, and push the screen to one of the notches on the front. And the angles that are provided are pretty nice, so you're not going to have a whole lot of issues. Of course, other than someone kicking your table, which, even then, it's still pretty stable. It's not going to slip. Because the worst case scenario is you have your cables plugged in and you have something really close to it, and the screen will just fall like so. And with all that being said, let's go ahead and finally power it up and see what it's all about. Anyways, let's go ahead and quickly go over the menus and see how it actually works. So we actually have 2 controls, and 3 quick menu options, and of course the big menu. So we have the dial, and how the dial works is I can actually flick it up or down and press it for a selection. And to go back, you can press the power button. Go ahead and press it once, it will show you the quick source options. You have HDMI and Type-C. Now the panel itself will automatically detect and select the right option if you have only one input source, but if you have 2 devices plugged in that both have video, then you can manually cycle between them. Flick up for quick volume controls, and flick down for a quick brightness control. And pretty much every time you turn it off, it doesn't save that one option. Everything else saves, like the volume and contrast levels, but the brightness stays at 50%. And I'm not sure exactly why, but I did ask the manufacturer and they haven't replied back to me. It's a minor inconvenience because every time you turn it on and you want to increase the brightness, you have to just use the quick menu and it'll take you about 5 seconds to get it to 100%. Now, if you go ahead and exit out of that, press the dial, we can actually bring up the full menu, which pretty much has all the controls that you would need. Brightness, contrast, black levels, sharpness, all that good stuff. What it doesn't have is actually saturation. Going down to the next option is where we have the actual presets. And inside the presets we have the standard, which is the one you can actually control the settings for. We have game, we have movie, text, FPS, RTS, and back to standard. And I would probably recommend just keeping it at standard. The only other preset that I would probably use is game because it looks a bit brighter. I don't know, it looks much nicer, but it'll all come down to personal preference. We have color temperature with 3 options, and basically just keep it at user at 45%. By default, it's at 40. I set it to 45, not 50, not 70. It just kind of pumps up the colors by a tiny bit. Next up we have the OSD settings, nothing exciting here, and neither are in the volume settings. And lastly we have the input source, blue light filter, and the HDR mode, which we'll try out in just a bit and see what it looks like. Alright, so I don't know if you noticed, but the speakers here are pretty bad. Not only they're kind of tinny, they don't have any bass, they're just very, very quiet, and I would probably recommend having a Bluetooth speaker on hand when using this panel. Alright, so I got my Xiaomi speaker plugged in. Let's go ahead and see how it sounds now.
That was lame. And be destroyed.
Next up we got the Nintendo Switch. Let's go in and power it up using this third-party dock, which very well might kill it, and it's not even my Switch, so YOLO. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and play a quick game of I'm Bad at Smash. Just as planned. Alright, we got my modded Xbox 360. It's full of games. It's pretty awesome, but what's even more awesome is that I can finally enjoy it on the go, which is pretty nice. I can set it up anywhere, plug in the Xbox, plug in the monitor into the Xbox to power it, and I'm good to go. Oh yeah.
Look at that!
It's amazing, but the snow coming off those peaks is a bad sign.
The trail leads up the mountain. We'll have a good view of the valley beyond from the summit.
All right, let's take it easy here. This wind is crazy.
We just need to keep moving.
You know, there's a whole lot to play here, but there's nothing like some CSGO on the Xbox 360. Alright, so that was pretty fun. Let's go ahead and wrap this video up by checking out the response times and concluding the video. So around the center, we are getting an average of around 10 milliseconds of response time, which is very good for a portable monitors, and the fact that it's not really targeted towards gaming as a primary option. Now for the top bar, we're getting about 1 milliseconds of response time, and for the last bar here, we're getting about 17 milliseconds. So again, 10 milliseconds for the middle is not bad at all, and it's pretty good. And it kind of makes me want to actually try out and see if I can overclock this panel through the HDMI port. So let me go ahead and grab my laptop, or just plug it into my desktop, and see how far I can actually push this panel, if at all. Alright, so here we are. I have it plugged into my main gaming computer, which has a 1080 Ti, so it should give us some nice flexibility using the NVIDIA control panel. So let's go ahead and set a custom resolution, and let's try 65. Okay, so it seems like we have got 65 Hz. Let's bump it up to 70. Okay, it's out of range. So the maximum overclock we could do on this panel is 66 Hz. Any increase in the Hertz is really nice, and it's definitely noticeable here. Alright, so the last thing I want to try here is actually the HDR option. And I did try it with this scene right here, with different movies as well, and the results were actually pretty impressive. So here's what it looks like with the HDR on, and here's what it looks like when it's off. It is truly a big difference. Now, of course, it's not going to work for every format, every game, every movie. It will all depend on what you're playing. But if you have a standard dull-looking HDR video that you're playing, then it should look pretty good. Here's another good one. This looks fantastic on the screen right now with the HDR on, which if I go ahead and try without the HDR, we can see things look pretty dull. Very flat. It feels like the life has been sucked from the movie, but that's just how it is. And to be honest, this is a pretty nice feature. And so, the conclusion. Is this panel any good? Should you get it? And what are things that can be improved upon? Well, first of all, the whole reason I re-recorded this entire video is because I was getting a grid line effect. The original recording was in 1080p, this one of course is in 4K, and I used an external monitor on my camera this time to get the focus just right so it kind of defocuses and blends in those lines. Those shimmering lines, as you can see. So in order to work around this issue, I went ahead and recorded it in 4K and made sure that I'm using an external monitor, like this one right here, to give you guys a better idea of what this panel looks like, even though it's going to be very limited with video. This video is not going to do it justice. In person, this panel looks really nice, it's very clean, there are absolutely no issues, haven't noticed any light bleed. Speaking of which, let me go ahead and give you guys a quick gray screen here and show you guys what that looks like. But overall, I've been pretty happy with this panel. Can't complain too much other than the fact that it's using a mini HDMI and the fact that my brightness levels reset every time this thing turns off. Another thing I would like to see change in a future revision would have to be the kickstand here. The cover is nice, it does protect it, I would like to see this thing still exist, but I would also like to see a built-in kickstand like you'd see on a Surface tablet. And finally, I would like to see a built-in saturation or vibrance slider to make the colors just pop up a bit more. And other than that, that is pretty much it for this video. Great for gaming, great for movies, great for a second screen. So would I recommend this panel? I would say yeah, for the price point, it's not a bad panel at all. It's very typical of what you get at this price point, and I've tested it, it never overheated, never turned off. It's been running perfectly fine for this entire week, with multiple different recordings, and probably over 12 hours of runtime. So yeah, that is all for this video. If you guys have any questions, do let me know in the comment section below. And with that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.